Hello, Mason the Brock Henderson here. And the end of the last review, I always put at the bottom like what I'm going to do next, what the next review is going to be. Because I always think I figured it out, but maybe from the trauma of what happened on The Walking Dead, I think I got a little confused. But because I was already taping Gotham, I decided to go ahead and watch Supergirl live, and then go back and watch Gotham when I can. That way I don't have to tape both of them and decide which one do I watch. I just tape one, watch the other, don't have to worry about it. So, this is Supergirl review. Episode 1, pilot episode, and man, what a stinker so far. I mean, I know it's just the first episode. I know sometimes it takes a few episodes to really get into it. But this really just... I wanted it to end so bad. I know it's bad to say because you always want to try to give episodes a chance. But I was already split going into this, just watching the previews. Some previews made it look like it could be good. Some previews made it look like it was going to be just this, Supergirl? Why not Superwoman? Like, just stupid girl stuff. And not that there's, I love women. Of course I do. A lot. But just stuff like that, stupid jokes like that, they're not meant for really, like, if you want to see a superhero show, if you're a superhero show fan, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Daredevil, and from the previews, Jessica Jones, that's the type of superhero stuff you want to see. You want to see good action. You can have humor in it. You can make it funny. That's completely fine. But don't make it stupid humor. And so far, the effects haven't been that good. Just the fighting scenes, the flying itself, it looks really poorly animated. And that's saying something in this day and time, because a lot of TV shows and movies now, obviously there's a lot of CGI in it. And people have talked at length about whether CGI is good, whether it's bad. In my opinion, it's needed. People cannot actually fly. The Avengers aren't actually the Avengers. They're people, and CGI helps pretend that they are the Avengers. It helps us to suspend our disbelief. So when the CGI is really bad, it really takes away from that suspension of disbelief, and you're like, oh wow, this is a TV show. And that's kind of how this felt. Like, when she's flying, it's very poorly animated. When she goes to punch, the guy, it's like, punch, fly. And it feels so slow. And I think the biggest problem I'm having is that this is very clearly not tying in with the DC universe as a whole. And that's kind of frustrating, seeing how, they've got Arrow, they've got the Flash, they've got, there's one other one, I think. It's I can't remember it now. But they have these shows that, they fit with the tone of the universe. It feels, I haven't heard anything about whether or not Green Arrow and the Flash are going to be in any DC movies, but it feels like they could be. This does not feel that way at all. First of all, the tone is way different because it's full of light, it's full of heart, it's way too corny. I mean, it's even going cornier than most of the old superhero shows. I mean, just really corny stuff. And really, I mean, it doesn't fit. You think of Man of Steel, you think of how dark tone that was, how serious, how heavy the atmosphere was. And then you go to this show and it's all cheery and she's all smiles and, she's walking up to these bad guys as they're trying to shoot her and she's like, I can't get hit, grabs them and throws them, and it feels too cheery. And that, obviously you want to look at it by itself, you don't want to try to compare it to something else, but it's so hard when they try to make those comparisons. Oh, it's even got the S. Oh, it's not an S. It's not even a symbol of hope now. It's our family's crest. And it's just, they made that joke, they made the reference to when she's fighting the first alien guy that's in this episode. He cuts her and he's like, you will bleed, you will know how it feels to bleed. And it makes me think of, do you bleed? You will. And just, I'm drawing all these comparisons. She's even got like a hologram like from Man of Steel. This little thing that just shoots a hologram of her mother. And obviously it's not as lifelike as the dad in Man of Steel. This is very clearly just a recorded hologram for her. But it makes me think of Man of Steel. It makes me want to tie it to the universe, but they clearly don't want to tie it to the universe, and that's frustrating for me. But that's just that part. The CGI is poor and the tone doesn't fit. The acting itself, some of it is okay. The sister of Kara, the human sister that she grew up with, you do really feel like, you believe her character. You believe that's how she feels. You believe that, she didn't like playing second fiddle to this alien that could do these amazing things. And you really do believe that, she's mixed between wanting to help her and at the same time being jealous of how just amazing she is. Like, you really do feel like that's true. But as far as Kara herself, I mean, just one of the things about being a superhero in disguise, Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, and those are the only two I can think of because they're most popular. When you see their human selves, you're like, okay, they look the same. Clark Kent looks just like Superman, just with glasses, but he acts like he's not Superman. Like when they're talking about Superman, there's no hints. There's nothing like, oh come on, like he made a look whenever you said something about Superman. There's nothing to give it away. This girl is just like, every single time they ask a question, it's like she's showing all. If there's one person who just happens to, be pretty good at detecting lies just by looking at a person, they don't even have to be an expert. They can just be an amateur. Look at her and be like, "You're Supergirl, aren't you? Like you just acted really weird right there." And she's doing it throughout the whole episode. Like she storms in whenever she finds out it's Supergirl. And like I said, shouldn't it be Superwoman? It's like, why do you care? You're just the intern here. Why are you acting weird whenever we're talking about it? What's going? Why are you acting so weird about it? It's so obvious that it's frustrating to watch. It's not like, oh, Clark Kent and Superman look the same. It's like, oh, this girl and Supergirl look the same, and she's acting weird whenever we talk about Supergirl, and she seems to know a bit about how Supergirl feels. What's going on here? It's just clue after clue after clue. Like, these people have to be stupid not to realize it. So that's that part. One of the big controversies, I didn't realize this was a controversy until I watched the show and I went online to look it up. Jimmy Olsen, that red hair freckled kid that was Superman's kind of like, he was the photographer that took pictures of Superman. Superman was his friend. It was Superman, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen. That kid, I like that kid. I could relate to that kid. Now he's this big buff black guy. Yeah, why? I mean, I have nothing against, racism to me is completely stupid. The fact that it's still even being talked about after everything that happened in the past several years, after Martin Luther King Jr. did his stuff, after, all the separation stuff got done. Everything, I live in Georgia, so a lot of my best friends are black. So it has nothing to do with the fact that he's black. It's the fact that you completely changed the character. It's like the fact that in the last Airbender movie, Sokka and Katara, they're supposed to be like, from Alaska, the Eskimos, and you made them these bland white kids. Why? No explanation. There's no point to it. Just lazy casting. Like, you couldn't have picked somebody that at least looks similar to the character? And that's what bugs me, is that it really does remind me of Sokka and Katara in the last Airbender movie. He made all of these changes, and if you don't know who I'm talking about, Shyamalan. He made all of these nonsense changes that did nothing but anger the fan base of the show. Everybody that loved Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, went into this movie having kind of high expectations, expecting it to, we get to see these characters that were just characters, cartoon characters, come to life on the big screen. Now they're real live people. No, you didn't get that at all. The kid was nothing like Aang. He was this bland, boring, just kid. Couldn't even act. Sokka, the joke cracker, no jokes throughout the entire movie. And just, he changed the names, he changed the race of the characters. The Fire Nation's supposed to be like Japanese culture. They were Indians. Like, why? And like I said, Sokka and Katara used to be, culturally, they were Eskimo culture. That was the water tribe. And now they're just white kids. No explanation. Same for Jimmy Olsen. Why take this character that everybody knows as he's a kid, he's got red hair and he's got freckles, and you turn him into a black guy that just. And first of all, the fact that he's even in the show makes me feel like they couldn't just go off of the fact that it's Supergirl. They needed something from the Superman universe to kind of tie it in, to make the Superman fans be like, oh, Jimmy Olsen's in this show, I'm gonna watch it. But it's not even Jimmy Olsen. It's not his character. And nothing about this guy makes me feel like, oh yeah, that's Jimmy. Because, honestly, I was not a huge watcher of the Superman cartoon series. And, I saw a couple of the cartoon movies. And I saw, like, the first actual Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, I think. Yeah. And so, I remember Jimmy Olsen from those, though. I remember him vaguely, at best. And it's nothing like this guy. This guy he's good looking, he's built, he's tall, and he doesn't act like Jimmy Olsen at all. He acts way too confident to be Jimmy. And that bothers me, because sure, you can make him older if you want, but to make him nothing like the character makes me feel like you threw in the name just for namesake, just to say, we have Jimmy Olsen, it ties into Superman somehow. But that was it. Like, nothing else to tie Jimmy Olsen to the show. Just the name. And that is the biggest frustration right now with the show. Like, there's a lot wrong with it. I've already talked about the other main problems I have. This is the big one. This is the one that makes, like, as soon as she said, "You're Jimmy Olsen," I'm like, no, he's not. No, he's not. That cannot be Jimmy Olsen. I wanted to turn it off right there and just stop watching. But I managed to get through it. But that's the main problems I'm having right now, is the character choice itself just doesn't make sense. And I heard there was something different about Supergirl herself. Like, I don't know, I did a little bit of research online before this review because I didn't want to be completely ignorant. And I wanted to check because, I know there are many different comic books, and I was like, well, maybe one of the comics, like a different Superman universe, Jimmy is black, but not that I could see. Like, everything that I read, Jimmy's supposed to be this pasty face, red hair, freckle, kind of quirky photographer that's supposed to be Superman's friend, and I didn't get that at all. So whether or not this change makes sense, I don't know. I'm gonna give it a chance. I'm gonna try to watch at least the first, 3 or 4 episodes just to see if maybe there's a reason they cast this guy. Maybe this guy just really captures the part somehow, but right now I don't see it. Hopefully the action gets a bit better. Right now it's very cheesy. It's very the animation itself just looks very, I don't know, it looks so fake. And you want it to be, obviously it's not going to look 100% real, but you want it to look somewhat real. And right now it doesn't look real at all. Like, it just looks so corny, cheesy animation. But hopefully that may get a bit better. Maybe as this girl, like, as she starts to get more confident, like her character as Supergirl, maybe the character will change enough to where she's able to hide her identity better. She's able to hide the little whatever she does whenever they mention Supergirl. But right now, I'm not hopeful, and even with the story they're setting up, the bad guy, he's from Krypton. He was part of this little prisoner group that Supergirl's mother, that she's the one that captured them and put them all together. And Supergirl's pod, whenever she went into this time whatever that caused her to get there way later than Superman, apparently she forced that thing out of there too, somehow. Plot forced, I guess. So he's a part of that, and it's apparently being run by her aunt, which, in my opinion, has the same effect as showing Agent Smith in the second Matrix movie, showing that he can clone himself very early on in the movie. Kind of takes away the shock value. Like, you want a bit of mystery. The scene I'm talking about is like, it's at the very beginning of the movie. We see Neo like fight off some guys, fight off a few of the agents, and then you see Agent Smith, walk up, and then you see another Agent Smith walk up. Completely takes away the shock of it. It's like it's right at the beginning. There's no mystery. There's no build up. It's just like, oh, Agent Smith can clone himself now. That's interesting. This is the same way. It's like, you know that somebody is behind this. You know that there's a leader of this organization. This guy kills himself. The guy that Supergirl fights, he kills himself to make sure they don't, get a hold of him. And you're just, you're hoping maybe it's a bit of a mystery. Maybe this will lead somewhere. We get to find out. No, they just, my niece, and they throw it in there. Like, they throw niece in there 3 or 4 times just to confirm. This is her aunt, guys. Guys, this is her aunt. Her aunt is the leader of this thing. Surprise! It's just like, I don't even care enough for it to be a surprise that makes me want to watch more. And that's where this show is done so poorly so far. Just as far as the story goes, because the story could get better, but right now they put all their eggs in, well, is that the right term? They play their ace up their sleeve way too early. They could have kept it a mystery. They could have been like, building it up, and then maybe 4 episodes in, she finally meets the woman. Oh, aunt, whatever? That would have been good. But it just feels like they're rushing into this main storyline, and it's not going to be good. And also another question, if it's her aunt, Superman is her cousin, is it Superman's mom, or is it another sister of Superman's family that we don't know? Like, they didn't really clarify that. They didn't confirm that Superman's not her son, that Superman is her nephew. They said that Supergirl is her niece, and that's all we know. So that would be weird if it's Superman's mom and she's evil. But I doubt that's it, but the fact that it's her aunt means that it could be Superman's mom, but I don't know enough about the comics to know who she is. So, but anyway, so really disappointing first episode. It has potential to get better, but right now just all the characters are boring. The girl playing Supergirl is not acted well. CGI is awful. Story's not interesting. Jimmy Olsen is not the same character that we knew he was. So, and one final thing, can we stop with the whole, when the main character, their boss, is just a jerk? We've seen it so much that at this point, it's just, ugh, like, it's not even funny either, the way they do it. Like, it's not like J. Jonah Jameson yelling, "I want pictures of Spider-Man." That's funny. I could watch J.K. Simmons do that all day. But this lady she's just so boring and bland and just, I don't know. That's my final pet peeve. I'm going to go on to a much better show now. Next review will be Fargo. So, I guess I'll see you guys there. Peace out.